Hello, Namaskar. Welcome back to the channel. So we started class 12 NCERT Geography book, and so we'll continue from chapter 3 in this video. Okay, let's start and let's see how far we can reach. So the chapter name is population composition. People of any country. So I will like to show you the time now. So now the time is, what's the time? अब नहीं दिखाएगा ये. हाँ, 10:56 PM. Okay, so I am starting it now. And people of any country are diverse in many respects. Each person is unique in her or his own way. Sorry. People can be distinguished by their age, sex, and their place of residence. Some of the other distinguishing attributes of the population are occupation, education, and life expectancy. Now, sex composition. The number of women and men in a country is an important demographic characteristic. The ratio between the number of women and men in the population is called the sex ratio. So, sex ratio is the ratio between the number of men and women. In some countries, it is calculated by using the formula male population divided by female population into 1000, or the number of males per 1000 females. In India, the sex ratio is worked out using the formula female population divided by male population into 1000, so or the number of females per 1000 males. So it can be number of males per 1000 females or number of females per 1000 males. In India, we use the second one, that is the number of females per 1000 males. The sex ratio is an important information about the status of women in a country. In regions where gender discrimination is rampant, the sex ratio is bound to be unfavorable to women. Such areas are those where the practice of female foeticide, female infanticide, and domestic violence against women are prevalent. One of the reasons could be lower socioeconomic status of women in these areas. You must remember that more women in the population does not mean they have a better status. It could be that the men might have migrated to other areas for employment. Natural advantage versus social disadvantage. Females have a biological advantage over males as they tend to be more resilient than males, yet this advantage is cancelled out by the social disadvantages and discriminations that they face. On an average, the world population reflects a sex ratio of 990 females per 1000 males. The highest sex ratio in the world has been recorded in Latvia, which is 1187 females per 1000 males. In contrast, the lowest sex ratio occurs in UAE, which is 468 females. So see the gap, right? Kaha 1187 and kaha 468 only females per 1000 males. The world pattern of sex ratio does not exhibit variations in the developed regions of the world. Okay, मतलब developed region ठीक ठाक है. The sex ratio is favorable for females in 139 countries of the world and unfavorable for them in the remaining 72 countries listed by the United Nations. So there are 139. So 30 and 70. So this is 209 and 211 countries are listed by UN, right? In general, Asia has a low sex ratio. Countries like China, India, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Afghanistan have a lower sex ratio. On the other extreme is greater part of Europe, including Russia, where males are in minority. Okay, so when the males are in minority, the males will be in the numerator. When females are in the minority, then we'll use the females in the numerator. In case of this formula, I am talking about this formula. Okay, so where was I? Yep. A deficit of males in the populations of many European countries is attributed to better status of women and an excessively male-dominated out-migration to different parts of the world in the past. Age structure. Age structure represents the number of people of different age groups. This is an important indicator of population composition, since a large size of population in the age group of 15 to 59 indicates a large working population. A greater proportion of population above 60 years represents an aging population which requires more expenditure on healthcare facilities. Similarly, high proportion of young population would mean that the region has a high birth rate and the population is youthful. Age-sex pyramid. The age-sex structure of a population refers to the number of females and males in different age groups. A population pyramid is used to show the age-sex structure of the population. The shape of the population pyramid reflects the characteristics of the population. The left side shows the percentage of male, while the right side shows the percentage of women in each age group. Okay, so right side shows the male and left side shows the female. डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ पॉपुलेशन पिरामिड्स यहाँ पर दिखाया गया है. ओके, एक्सपेंडिंग पॉपुलेशंस. द एज सेक्स पिरामिड ऑफ नाइजीरिया, एज यू कैन सी, इज ए ट्रायंगुलर शेप्ड पिरामिड विद ए वाइड बेस एंड इट्स टिपिकल of less developed countries. These have larger populations in lower age groups due to high birth rates. If you construct the pyramids for Bangladesh and Mexico, it would look the same. Okay, constant populations. Australia's age sex pyramid is bell shaped and tapered towards the top. This shows birth and death rates are almost equal, leading to a near constant population. Declining populations. The Japan pyramid has a narrow base and a tapered top showing. ये रिसेंटली मैंने न्यूज़ के मटेरियल में सेम टॉपिक जब मैंने पढ़ रहा था यूपीएससी ऑप्शनल वाला सिलेबस के अकॉर्डिंग, तो देखा कि वहाँ पर काफ़ी अच्छे से चीज़ों को एक्सप्लेन किया गया एग्जाम्पल के साथ, कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स के साथ. तो डेफिनेटली मैं प्लान किया है कि न्यूज़ का बुक्स भी कवर करूँगा, तो तब आपको दिखेगा और पता भी चलेगा. ठीक है, चलिए. अब जापान जो है डिक्लाइनिंग पॉपुलेशंस के अंडर आते हैं. तो जापान पिरामिड हैज ए नैरो बेस एंड ए टैपर्ड टॉप शोइंग लो बर्थ एंड डेथ रेट्स. द पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ इन डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज इज यूजुअली जीरो और नेगेटिव. एजिंग पॉपुलेशन. Population aging is the process by which the share of the older populations become proportionally larger. This is a new phenomenon of the 20th century. In most of the developed countries of the world, population in higher age groups has increased due to increased life expectancy with a reduction in birth rates. The proportion of children in the population has declined. Rural-urban composition. The division of population into rural and urban is based on the residence. This division is necessary because rural and urban lifestyles differ from each other in terms of their livelihood and social conditions. The age, sex, occupational structure, density of population, and level of development vary between rural and urban areas. The criteria for differentiating rural and urban population varies from country to country. In general terms, rural areas are those where people are engaged in primary activities and urban areas are those when majority of the working population is engaged in non-primary activities. Figure 3.4 shows rural-urban sex composition of selected countries. The rural and urban differences in sex ratio in Canada and West European countries like Finland are just the opposite of those in African and Asian countries like Zimbabwe and Nepal respectively. In Western countries, males outnumber females in rural areas and females outnumber the males in urban areas. In countries like Nepal, Pakistan and India, the case is reverse. Okay, so yeah. In Western countries, males outnumber females in rural areas and females outnumber the males in अर्बन एरियाज. मतलब ज़्यादातर फीमेल्स अर्बन में रहते हैं और जो मेल्स है वो रूरल एरियाज में रहते हैं इन वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज. बट इन कंट्रीज लाइक नेपाल, पाकिस्तान एंड इंडिया द केस इज रिवर्स. द एक्सेस ऑफ फीमेल्स इन अर्बन एरियाज ऑफ यूएसए, कनाडा एंड यूरोप इज द रिजल्ट ऑफ इनफ्लक्स ऑफ फीमेल्स फ्रॉम रूरल एरियाज टू अवेल ऑफ द फर्स्ट जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज. Farming in these developed countries is also highly mechanized and remains largely a female occupation. By contrast, the sex ratio in Asian urban areas remains male-dominated due to the predominance of male migration. It is also worth noting that in countries like India, female participation in farming activity in rural area is fairly high. Shortage of housing, high cost of living, paucity of job opportunities and lack of security in cities discourage women to migrate from rural to urban areas. Literacy. Proportion of literate population of a country is an indicator of its socio-economic development, as it reveals the standard of living, social status of females, availability of educational facilities and policies of government. Level of economic development is both a cause and consequence of literacy. In India, literacy rate denotes the percentage of population above 7 years of age who is able to read, write and have the ability to do arithmetic calculations with understanding. Occupational structure. The working population, that is women and men of the age group 15 to 59, take part in various occupations ranging from agriculture, forestry, fishing, manufacturing, construction, commercial, transport services, communication and other unclassified services. Agriculture, forestry, fishing and mining are classified as primary activities, manufacturing as secondary, transport, communication and other services as tertiary, and the jobs related to research and developing ideas as quaternary activities. The proportion of working population engaged in these four sectors is a good indicator of the levels of economic development of a nation. This is because only a developed economy with industries and infrastructure can accommodate more workers in the secondary, tertiary and quaternary sector. If the economy is still in the primitive stage, then the proportion of people engaged in primary activities would be high. Spelling mistake हाँ बहुत सारे इतने नहीं होने चाहिए. Would be high as it involves extraction of natural resources. So here the chapter ends. Okay, very fine. Now chapter 4. So nothing important, but you have to read the important statistics from the census of India, that is definitely 2011, and not much relevant, but yeah, questions can be asked, right? Like which state has the maximum SC population, which state has the ST population maximum. These type of questions will be definitely asked in UGC NET or any exam, you can say, right? So we are in the chapter 4 and this is unit 2, that is human development. So let's start. The words growth and development are not new to you, definitely. Look around you. Almost everything that you can see and many that you cannot grows and develops. These may be plants, cities, ideas, nations, relationships, wow, or even you yourself. What does this mean? This chapter discusses the concept of human development as it pertains to nations and communities. Growth and development. So here actually starts. Both growth and development refer to changes over a period of time. The difference is that growth is quantitative and value neutral. It may have a positive or a negative sign. This means that the change may be either positive or negative. Development means a qualitative change which is always value positive. This means that development cannot take place unless there is an increment or addition to the existing condition, and that's why when we are saying that population is decreasing, I told you in the previous video that why we are showing that negative growth, right? Why we are saying that negative growth when population is not increasing or in the decreasing stage, when we are calling it negative growth. That's the reason कि growth is a quantitative and value neutral. Okay, so it can be positive, it can be negative. Development means a qualitative change which is always value positive. This means that development cannot take place unless there is an increment or addition to the addition to the existing conditions. Development occurs when positive growth takes place, yet positive growth does not always lead to development. Development occurs when there is a positive change in quality. For example, if the population of a city grows from 1 lakh to 2 lakhs over a period of time, we say the city has grown. However, if a facilities like housing, provision of basic services and other characteristics remain the same, then this growth has not been accompanied by development. Can you think of a few more examples to differentiate between growth and development? Definitely do let me in the comment section. Let me know in the comment section. For many decades, a country's level of development was measured only in terms of its economic growth. This meant that the bigger the economy of the country, the more developed it was considered. Even though this growth did not really mean much change in the lives of most people, the idea that the quality of life people enjoy in a country, the opportunities they have and freedoms they enjoy are important aspects of development is not new. These ideas were clearly spelled out for the first time in the late 80s and early 90s. The works of two South Asian economists, Mehboob al-Haq and Amartya Sen are important in this regard. Do you know Dr. Mehboob al-Haq and Professor Amartya Sen were close friends and have worked together under the leadership of Dr. Haq to bring out the initial human development reports. Both these South Asian economists have been able to provide an alternative view of development. Okay. So the concept of human development was introduced by Dr. Mehboob al-Haq. Dr. Haq has described human development as development that enlarges people's choices and improves their lives. People are central to all development under this concept. These choices are not fixed but keep on changing. The basic goal of development is to create conditions where people can live meaningful lives. A meaningful life is not just a long one. It must be a life with some purpose. This means that people must be healthy, be able to develop their talents, participate in society, and be free to achieve their goals. Did you know? A man of vision and compassion, Pakistan economist Dr. Mehboob al-Haq created the Human Development Index in 1990. According to him, development is all about enlarging people's choices in order to lead long, healthy lives with dignity. The United Nations Development Programme has used his concept of human development to publish the Human Development Report annually since 1990. Dr. Haq's flexibility of mind and ability to think out of the box can be illustrated from one of his speeches where he quoted Shaw, that is Bernard Shaw, I think, saying, "You see things that are and ask why. I dream of things." Yes, I read this quote before also. This is by Bernard Shaw. Full name is Bernard Shaw, and he's a good, I think, writer. Yeah, I mean poet, or I think I read the story book, right? He's also a good poet. Whatever. So this is there was a quote, and Dr. Hawk's flexibility of mind. Okay, so you see things that are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and ask why not. Yeah, that's great. Nobel laureate Professor Amartya Sen saw an increase in freedom or decrease in unfreedom as the main objective of development. Interestingly, increasing freedoms is also one of the most effective ways of bringing about development. His work explores the role of social and political institutions and processes in increasing freedom. The work of these economists are path-breaking and have succeeded in bringing people to the center of any discussion on development. So what is meaningful life? Happy birthday, Sanaj. Thanks, Priya. Okay, then wish me good health also. I want to be able to complete school and go to college. So you want to live a meaningful life then? I want to be able to do something to make something of myself. Which of these lives is meaningful? Where do you see yourself 1 year from now? Dead or in prison? And I hope to find a cheaper and more effective cure to treat cancer. Who do you think leads more meaningful life? What makes one of these more meaningful than the other? Okay, don't have. Okay, let's keep that part for now. Leading a long and healthy life, being able to gain knowledge and having enough means to be able to live a decent life are the most important aspect of human development. Therefore, access to resources, health and education are the key areas in human development. Suitable indicators have been developed to measure each of these aspects. Can you think of some? Very often people do not have the capability and freedom to make even basic choices. These may be due to their inability to acquire knowledge, their material poverty, social discrimination, inefficiency of institutions, and other reasons. This prevents them from leading healthy lives, being able to get educated, or to have the means or to live a decent life. Building people's capabilities in the areas of health, education, and access to resources is therefore important in enlarging their choices. If people do not have capabilities in these areas, their choices also get limited. For example, an uneducated child cannot make the choice to be a doctor because her choice has got limited by her lack of education. Similarly, very often poor people cannot choose to take medical treatment for disease because their choice is limited by the lack of resources. lack of money. Enact a 5-minute play with your classmate. Level. The 4 pillars of human development. Just as any building is supported by pillars, the idea of human development is supported by the concepts of equity, sustainability, productivity, and empowerment. Okay, so read again. Just as many building. Okay, leave. Human development is supported by the concepts of equity, sustainability, productivity, and empowerment. This is very important. कि human development is supported by the concepts of equity, sustainability, productivity, and empowerment. Okay, so equity, sustainability, productivity, and empowerment, right? Equity, sustainability, productivity, and empowerment. Equity refers to making equal access to opportunities available to everybody. The opportunities available to people must be equal irrespective of their gender, race, income, and in the Indian case, caste. Yet this is very often not the case and happens in almost every society. For example, in any country, it is interesting to see which group the most of the school dropouts belong to. This should then lead to an understanding of the reasons for such behavior. In India, a large number of women and persons belonging to socially and economically backward groups drop out of school. This shows how the choices of these groups get limited by not having access to knowledge. Sustainability means continuity in the availability of opportunities. To have sustainable human development, each generation must have the same opportunities. All environmental, financial, and human resources must be used keeping in mind the future. Misuse of any of these resources will lead to fewer opportunities for future generations. A good example is about the importance of sending girls to school. If a community does not stress the importance of sending its girl children to school, many opportunities will be lost to these young women when they grew up. Their career choices will be severely curtailed, and this would affect other aspects of their lives. So each generation must ensure the availability of choices and opportunities to its future generations. Productivity here means human labor productivity or productivity in terms of human work. Such productivity must be constantly enriched by building capabilities in people. Ultimately, it is people who are the real wealth of nations. Therefore, efforts to increase their knowledge or provide better health facilities ultimately leads to better work efficiency. Empowerment means to have the power to make choices. Okay, so here empowerment means to have the power to make choices. Such power comes from increasing freedom and capability, good governance, and people oriented policies. Good governance and people oriented policies are required to empower people. The empowerment of socially and economically disadvantaged group is of special importance. Approaches to human development. There are many ways of looking at the problem of human development. Some of the important approaches are the income approach, the welfare approach, minimum needs approach, capabilities approach. Measuring human development. The Human Development Index ranks the countries based on their performance in the key areas of health, education, and access to resources. These rankings are based on a score of 0 to 1 that a country earns from its record in the key areas of human development. The indicator chosen to assess health is the life expectancy at birth. A higher life expectancy means that people have a greater chance of living longer and healthier lives. The adult literacy rate and the gross endowment ratio represents access to knowledge. The number of adults who are able to read and write and the number of children enrolled in the school show how easy or difficult it is to access knowledge in a particular country. Access to resources is measured in terms of purchasing power in the US dollar. Each of these dimensions is given a weightage of 1/1/3. The Human Development Index is sum total of the weights assigned to all these dimensions. The closer a score is to 1, the greater is the level of human development. Therefore, a score of 0.983 would be considered very high, while 0.268 would mean a very low level of human development. The Human Development Index measures attainments in human development. It reflects what has been achieved in the key areas of human development. Yet it is not the most reliable measure. This is because it does not say anything about the distribution. The Human Poverty Index is related to the Human Development Index. This index measures the shortfall in human development. Approaches to human development. Income approach. This is one of the oldest approaches to human development. Human development is seen as being linked to income. The idea is that the level of income reflects the level of freedom an individual enjoys. Higher the level of income, the higher is the level of human development. Now, welfare approach. This approach looks at human beings as beneficiaries or targets of all development activities. The approach argues that for higher government expenditure on education, health, social secondary, and amenities. Social secondary means, don't know. People are not participants in development but only passive recipients. The government is responsible for increasing levels of human development by maximizing expenditure on welfare. Basic needs approach. This approach was initially proposed by the International Labour Organization (ILO). 6 basic needs: health, education, food, water supply, sanitation, and housing were identified. Okay, so food, water, housing, sanitation, health, and education. These are the 6 fundamental basic needs recognized by ILO. The question of human choices is ignored, and the emphasis is on the provision of basic needs of defined sections. Now, capability approach. This approach is associated with Professor Amartya Sen. Building human capabilities in the areas of health, education, and access to resources is the key to increasing human development. Since 1990, the United Nations Development Programme has been publishing the Human Development Report every year. This report provides a rank-wise list of all member countries according to the level of human development. The Human Development Index and the Human Poverty Index are 2 important indices to measure human development used by the UNDP. It is a non-income measure. The probability of not surviving till the age of 40, the adult literacy rate, the number of people who do not have access to clean water, and the number of small children who are underweight are all taken into account to show the shortfall in human development in any region. Often the Human Poverty Index is more revealing than the Human Development Index. Looking at both the measure of human development together gives an accurate picture of the human development situation in a country. The ways to measure human development are constantly being refined, and newer ways of capturing different elements of human development are being researched. Researchers have found links between the level of corruption or political freedom in a particular region. There is also discussion regarding a political freedom index and a listing of the most corrupt countries. Can you think of other links to the level of human development? Bhutan is the only country in the world to officially proclaim the gross national happiness as the measure of the country's progress. Only country in the world. Wow. Gross national happiness index. So Bhutan it is the only country in the world as the measure of country's progress. Material progress and technological developments are approached more cautiously, taking into consideration the possible harm they might bring to the environment or the other aspects of cultural and spiritual life of the Bhutanese. This simply means material progress cannot come at the cost of happiness. GNH, that is gross national happiness, encourages us to think of the spiritual, non-material, and qualitative aspects of development. Interrelation comparison. So interrelation, अरे बाप रे. International comparisons. International comparisons of human development are interesting. Size of the territory and per capita income are not directly related to human development. Often, smaller countries have done better than larger ones in human development. Similarly, relatively poorer nations have been ranked higher than richer neighbors in terms of human development. For example, Sri Lanka, Trinidad, and Tobago have a higher rank than India in the Human Development Index despite having smaller economies. Similarly, within India, Kerala performs much better than Punjab and Gujarat in human development despite having lower per capita income. Countries can be classified into 3 groups on the basis of the human development scores earned by them. High, medium, low. Above 0.8 is high, between 0.5 up to 0.799 is medium, and below 0.5 হচ্ছে low. Countries with high index values. Countries with high human development index are those which have a score of over 0.8 according to the Human Development Report of 2005. दिस ग्रुप इंक्लूड्स 57 कंट्रीज। ओके, अभी सारी चीज़ें अपडेटेड हो गया तो आपको अपडेटेड चीज़ें जो है चेक करना पड़ेगा, तो डेफिनेटली हम चेक करेंगे रिपोर्ट को और उस पर भी वीडियो बनाएंगे। ठीक है, डेफिनेटली नॉर्वे ही फास्ट में है शायद, बाकी का थोड़ा बहुत ऊपर नीचे हो सकते हैं जो रैंक है, तो देखना पड़ेगा। प्रोवाइडिंग एजुकेशन एंड हेल्थ केयर इज एन इम्पॉर्टेंट गवर्नमेंट प्रायोरिटी। Countries with higher human development are those where a lot of investment in the social sector has taken place. Altogether, a higher investment in people and good governance has set this group of countries apart from the others. Try to find out the percentage of the country's income spent on these sectors. Can you think of some other characteristics that these countries have in common? You will notice that many of these countries have been the former imperial powers. The degree of social diversity in these countries is not very high. Many of the countries with a high human development score are located in Europe and represent the industrialized Western world. Yet there are striking numbers of non-European countries also who have made it to this list. Countries with medium index value, countries with medium levels of human development from the largest group. There are a total of 88 countries in this group. Most of these are countries which have emerged in the period after the Second World War. Some countries from this group were former colonies, while many others have emerged after the break up to the erstwhile Soviet Union in 1990. Many of these countries have been rapidly improving their human development score by adopting more people-oriented policies and reducing social discrimination. Most of these countries have a much higher social diversity than the countries with higher human development scores. Many in this group have faced political instability and social uprisings at some point of time in their recent history. Countries with low index value. As many as 32 countries record low levels of human development. A large proportion of these are small countries which have been going through political turmoil and social instability in the form of civil war, famine, or a high incidence of disease. There is an urgent need to address the human development requirements of this group through well thought out policies. International comparisons of human development can show some very interesting results. Often people tend to blame low levels of human development on the culture of the people. For example, X country has lower human development because its people follow Y religion or belong to Z community. Such statements are misleading. Okay, and to understand why a particular region keeps reporting low or high levels of human development, it is important to look at the pattern of government expenditure on the social sector, the political environment of the country, and the amount of freedom people have is also important. Countries with high levels of human development invest more in the social sectors and are generally free from political turmoil and instability. Distribution of the country's resources is also far more equitable. On the other hand, places with low levels of human development tend to spend more on defense rather than social sectors. This shows that these countries tend to be located in areas of political instability and have not been able to initiate accelerated economic development. तो हमने यूनिट 2 कंप्लीट कर लिया और यूनिट 3 पे आ गए। तो चैप्टर 5 है ये, पहला वाला चैप्टर 4 ही था ना, एक बार देख लेते हैं। यस, गुड। तो चलिए चैप्टर 5 को भी ख़त्म कर देते। ऐसे ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट में बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं जो टेक्निकल चीज़ें हैं, जैसे कि आपका फार्मूलाज कैसे मतलब टाइप किया जाता है, उसका जो एक टेबल होता है वहाँ पर बहुत सारी चीज़ें पढ़ना पड़ेगा जो कि एक्चुअल एग्ज़ाम में पूछा जाएगा। ये एनसीईआरटी तो आपका कॉन्सेप्ट को क्लियर करने के लिए जो डिस्क्रिप्शन है ये हेल्प करेगा, बट आप यूपीएससी प्रीलिम्स का हो ऐसे ही सिलेबस में शायद ये सब नहीं है, यूपीएससी प्रीलिम्स में मेंस में शायद है। ठीक है, तो ये मेरे सार या फिर जो भी टीचिंग एग्ज़ाम का हो वहाँ पर यहाँ से क्वेश्चन नहीं आने वाला, बट डेफिनेटली वो सारे टेक्निकल चीज़ जो होती है जो फैक्चुअल चीज़ें होती है वहाँ से पूछा जा सकता है कि इंडिया का रैंक कितना है, देन हु इज इन द फर्स्ट रैंक, okay, and many much things that is the based on formula like questions can be asked ki what are the indices and many things are there I actually forgetting. Okay, and if I get any valuable document on that particular, yeah, I have note also, and I will share that definitely with you in some later time. So let's start chapter 5, that is primary activities. Human activities which generate income are known as economic activities. Economic activities are broadly grouped into primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary activities. Primary activities are directly dependent on environment. इस बार मतलब पहली बार जिस बार मेरा JRF क्लियर हुआ, नेट में एक सवाल आया था कि शायद वो होता है ना कि क्या बोलते थे, पर्ल्स। तो पर्ल्स इज क्या कौन सी इंडस्ट्री में कौन सी एक्टिविटी में बिलोंग करेगा, प्राइमरी, सेकेंडरी, टर्सरी? तो उसको मैंने गलत करके आया था, तो आप बता सकते हो, तो बता दो आंसर कमेंट करके कि पर्ल्स कौन सी एक्टिविटी में आएगा, प्राइमरी, सेकेंडरी या टर्सरी, बताओ। Primary activities are directly dependent on environment, as these refer to utilization of Earth's resources such as land, water, vegetation, building materials, and minerals. It thus includes hunting and gathering, pastoral activities, fishing, forestry, agriculture, and mining and quarrying. Do you know people engaged in primary activities are called red collar workers due to their outdoor nature of their work? So people engaged in primary activities are called red collar workers. Hunting and gathering. The earliest human beings dependent on their immediate environment for their sustenance. They subsisted on animals which they hunted and the edible plants which they gathered from forests in the vicinity. Primitive societies depended on wild animals. People located in very cold and extremely hot climates survived on hunting. The people in the coastal areas still catch fish, though fishing has experienced modernization due to technological progress. Many species now have become extinct or endangered due to illegal hunting, that is called poaching. The early hunters used primitive tools made of stones, twigs, or arrows, so the number of animals killed was limited. Why has hunting been banned in India? Gathering and hunting are the oldest economic activity known. These are carried out at different levels with different orientations. Gathering is practiced in regions with harsh climatic conditions. It often involves primitive societies who extract both plants and animals to satisfy their needs for food, shelter, and clothing. This type of activity requires a small amount of capital investment and operates at very low level of technology. The yield per person is very low and little or no surplus is produced. Gathering is practiced in high latitude zones which include northern Canada, northern Eurasia, and southern Chile. Low latitude zones such as Amazon basin, tropical Africa, northern fringe of Australia, and the interior parts of Southeast Asia. In modern times, some gathering is market oriented and has become commercial. Gatherers collect valuable plants such as leaves, barks of trees, and medicinal plants, and after simple processing sell the products in the market. They use various parts of the plants. For example, the bark is used for quinine, tannin extract, and cork. Leaves supply materials for beverages, drugs, cosmetics, fibers, thatch and fabrics, nuts for food and oils, and tree trunk yield rubber, balata, gums, and resins. The name of the part of the chewing gum after the flavor is gone, it is called chicle. It is made from the milky juice of जापोटा ट्री। हाँ, ये तो सीटेट के एग्ज़ाम की जब तैयारी कर रहे थे तब वहाँ पर ईवीएस के टॉपिक के अंदर पढ़े थे कि जो च्युइंगम है वो जापोटा ट्री से बनता है। तो एक्चुअली जो क्या है, च्युइंग के बाद जो फ्लेवर चला जाता है और जो रह जाता है, ठीक है, उसे हम चिकल कहते हैं और इट इज़ एक्चुअली मेड फ्रॉम द मिल्की जूस ऑफ जापोटा ट्री। अच्छी इन्फॉर्मेशन है। Gathering has little chance of becoming important at the global level. Products of such an activity cannot compete in the world market. Moreover, synthetic products, often of better quality and at lower prices, have replaced many items supplied by the gatherers in tropical forests. Pastoralism. At some stage in history, with the realization that hunting is an unsustainable activity, human beings might have thought of domestication of animals. People living in different climatic conditions selected and domesticated animals found in those regions. Depending on the geographical factors and technological development, animal rearing today is practiced either at the subsistence or at the commercial level. Nomadic herding or pastoral nomadism is primitive subsistence activity in which the herders rely on animals for food, clothing, shelter, tools, and transport. They move from one place to another along with their livestock, depending on the amount and quality of pastures and water. Each nomadic community occupies a well identified territory as a matter of tradition. A wide variety of animals is kept in different regions. In tropical Africa, cattle are the most important livestock, while in Sahara and Asiatic deserts, sheep, goats, and camel are reared. In the mountainous areas of Tibet and Andhij, yak and ilamas या फिर लामस ही होगा क्योंकि याक में देखो कैपिटल लेटर नहीं है तो लामस सॉरी एंड इन द आर्कटिक एंड सब आर्कटिक एरियाज reindeer are the most important animals. Pastoral nomadism is associated with three important regions. The core region extends from the Atlantic shores of North Africa. जहाँ पर क्या है पॉपुलेशन डेंसिटी कम है वहीं पे पेस्टोरलिज्म प्रैक्टिस क्या हो जाता है आपको पता होगा. रीजन के अकॉर्डिंग आप बता सकते हो गेस. ठीक है सही गेस लगा दोगे. नॉर्थ अफ्रीका ईस्टवर्ड्स अक्रॉस द अरेबियन पेनिनसुला इनटू मंगोलिया एंड सेंट्रल चाइना जहाँ पर क्लाइमेट हार्श है. ठीक है वहाँ पर पेस्टोरलिज्म ये वगैरह चलते हैं. द सेकंड रीजन एक्सटेंड्स ओवर टुंड्रा रीजन ऑफ यूरेशिया इन द साउदर्न हेमिस्फीयर. देयर आर स्मॉल एरियाज इन साउथ वेस्ट अफ्रीका and on the islands of Madagascar. Moreover, movement in search of pastures is undertaken either over vast horizontal distance or vertically from one elevation to another in the mountainous regions. The process of migration from one plain areas to pastures on mountains during summers and again from mountain pastures to plain areas during winters is known as transhumance. In mountains, so this term is very important, याद रखना transhumance. ओके सो जो पैस्टोरलिस्ट जो होता है पैस्टोरलिस्ट जिन्होंने पैस्टोरलिज्म प्रैक्टिस करते हैं वो माउंटेन एरियाज में क्या करते हैं कि तो ये वीडियो अब स्टॉप हो जाएगा. अरे यार तो माउंटेन एरियाज में वो क्या करते हैं शिफ्ट करते हैं. ठीक है जो ड्यूरिंग समर सीजन वो माउंटेन के ऊपर जाते हैं और ड्यूरिंग विंटर वो माउंटेन के नीचे आता है. तो इसे हम ट्रांसह्यूमन्स कहते हैं. नाउ इन माउंटेन रीजन सच एज हिमालयज गुजर्स बकर्स. एक बार मैं पॉज करता हूँ और कुछ वीडियोस डिलीट कर देता हूँ ताकि ये चैप्टर कंप्लीट हो जाए. वेट